Have you ever sat down with Indian friends, looked at the table, and thought, wait, no forks? If that moment ever made you curious or a little unsure, here is what is really going on. In India, eating with your hands is not just a habit. It is history, culture, spirituality, and a whole philosophy of how food should feel. In many Indian homes, especially during traditional meals, people eat using their fingers and almost always with the right hand. The left hand usually stays out of the eating process, used for passing dishes or handling shared items. That is not random. It comes from long-standing ideas about cleanliness and respect at the table. The right hand is treated as the clean hand for eating, while the left hand is associated with tasks you would not want mixing directly with food. But here is the key point. Using your hands is not about being careless. It is about having a clear set of manners that everyone understands. You wash up, you keep your fingertips clean, and you eat in a way that does not disturb the people around you. Now that you have the basic etiquette, the next question is obvious. Why did this become the norm in the first place? If we go back in time, eating with your hands was common across many societies. Utensils were not always available, and even when they existed, they were not part of everyday life for most people. In India, the practice did not disappear when spoons and forks became more widespread. Instead, it settled into the culture because it matched the way Indian food was prepared and the way meals were shared. Over centuries, this method became part of identity and tradition. It also became connected to the belief that food is not just fuel. Food is something you treat with attention and gratitude. And that takes us straight into one of the biggest influences on Indian food culture, Ayurveda, and what it says about the body and the senses. Ayurveda is an ancient Indian system of wellness that sees eating as more than calories and nutrients. It teaches that the body is shaped by 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. In many popular explanations, each finger is linked to one of those elements, and using all 5 fingers together is seen as a symbolic way of bringing balance into the act of eating. Whether you take that literally or spiritually, the practical point is powerful. Your hands give you information before the food ever reaches your mouth. You feel texture. You notice temperature. You can tell if something is too hot, too dry, too oily, or just right. That touch feedback naturally slows you down and makes you more aware of each bite. Modern nutrition conversations often land in a similar place. When you eat more slowly and take smaller bites, your body has time to recognize fullness and your digestion tends to go smoother. So, in a way, traditional wisdom and modern advice overlap. Eating with your hands can turn a meal into something intentional instead of automatic. But in India, the meaning does not stop at the body. For many people, it also reaches into the spiritual world. And that is where the next layer begins. In many Indian traditions, food is treated as a blessing in Hindu practice. For example, food can be offered in rituals and then received as prasadam, meaning it has been blessed and accepted with gratitude. In that mindset, touching food with your hands can feel like a direct, humble way of receiving nourishment. It is physical, personal, and reverent. There is also a very down-to-earth reason hands work well with Indian cuisine. Think about the classic setup: rice, lentils, vegetables, curries, and flatbreads, like roti or chapati. These foods are meant to be scooped, folded, mixed, and combined. A piece of bread can act like a perfect tool for picking up curry. Rice is often gently mixed with sauce, so the flavors come together before you eat. Your fingertips can do that, mixing with control and precision that a fork cannot always match. And because people assume hands are messy, it is worth saying clearly: cleanliness is built into the routine. Washing hands before and after meals is standard, and many families treat it as basic respect for the food and for the people sharing the table. Some people will even argue that clean hands can be more reliable than utensils that may not have been washed properly. So, we have history, wellness, spirituality, and practicality. The last piece is what happens between people when the meal is shared. Traditional Indian meals are often communal. Families eat together, share dishes, and treat the meal as a social moment, not just a private task. Eating with your hands can feel less like a barrier between you and the food, and more like being fully present in the experience. It can also create a sense of equality, because everyone is eating the same way from the same shared spread. At the same time, India is huge and diverse. Not everyone eats with their hands for every meal. In many urban settings, you will see spoons and forks, especially for foods like soups, desserts, or anything difficult to handle. Plenty of people switch depending on context, comfort, or setting. But even when utensils show up, eating with your hands still carries respect, nostalgia, and cultural meaning for many families, especially during everyday meals and special gatherings. So if you ever see someone eating with their hands in an Indian restaurant or home, you are not watching a lack of tools. You are watching a tradition that combines etiquette, sensory awareness, belief, and community. Thanks for listening. If this gave you a new perspective, I appreciate you for staying to the end, and I will see you in the next story.